Hi everyone, how are you going? I hope you're having a good week. So it's prompt reveal day. I'm assuming you've watched Rachel's video by now, and the prompt was pots of flowers, so pots, some kind of pots. So what I was thinking is I want to put a couple of big white pots or big creamy coloured pots and then lots of flowers in them. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. But just an update, I've done a little stone path that's felted wool. I've just stitched down with the overcast stitch around the edge. And then if you can see here, I removed my door. It was ridiculous. It was so big. It looked really out of place. I love the way the greenhouse turned out and the size of it, and it's going to have the big vegetable garden next to it. But the door just looked ridiculous. It was huge. It was like this big. And it just didn't work. So I'm thinking I'm going to maybe embroider some little French gates, maybe about that big. Maybe a little bit more of the path coming down, some more of the stepping stones, and then just fill it in with some flowers. Maybe my wildflowers are quite out of proportion as well, but it doesn't matter. I might continue with some wildflowers. So I do have a lot of work to do. Look, I've still got so much of my veggie garden to do. I pulled out a little bit of my veggie garden as well. I hated the carrots. They look terrible. I'm not super keen on this, but I might leave it. We'll see. I like these bits. They've worked out okay. But I've got to keep building up my veggie garden. I want to make them look more like carrots, maybe out of the felted wool. So I've got some playing to do. So there'll be quite a bit of colour in there. But I really like my greenhouse. It's really pretty, like the little flowers and the way I kind of stitched these, and now they're kind of sticking up like three little flowers in the wheelbarrow. I think they're super cute. So I like the way this turned out. And now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for my pots. So I might add more pots, but for this week I'm going to try and do two. So I've cut out, this is cut out of this fabric. And I just took the creamy kind of edge, and it's kind of, don't know if you can see on camera, it's got quite a bit of texture in it. I don't know what that is. I don't think it's bark cloth, but maybe something similar. It's quite textural. So I've cut two little pots approximately the same size. And what I was thinking of doing is putting them either side of my path. And then beautiful flowers coming out of my pots. So we'll start with, let me just see, I think that one might be a little bit wider than the other. Oh, they're similar. Doesn't matter, they're quite similar. So I'm going to, I stitched down some more of the muslin or the cheesecloth, the dyed cheesecloth here, and also where the door was. Done a little bit of stitching this week, not much. Quite a lot of unpicking though. All right, so I'm just using a old creamy coloured cotton, and I'm going to overcast stitch this in place, just holding it down. You could pin it down if you want to make sure it stays straight. So I might use a smaller pin, one of these little applique pins, because they don't get in the way. There we go. Now it should stay straight. So I'm just doing my overcast stitch on the edge the whole way around. Now it could fray a little bit. In fact, it probably will fray a little bit. But you know me, I don't care about stuff like that. If I wanted to keep it neat, like I did on my greenhouse with the pink stripe, I could needle turn applique and fold the edges under. But this is quite a thick fabric, and I thought it would get too chunky. You know what my favourite pots are, and I don't even know the proper name for them. I need to look it up. Those French ones that have like the little round kind of motif on the side, azure or something like that. I don't know how you pronounce them. I do believe that when you buy the authentic real ones from France, you actually get a certificate, because they're really expensive. But there's lots of replicas of them around as well, so you've probably seen them. But I love those big pots. You can get them in different colours. Like I know they do them in a mustard and quite a dark foresty kind of green, and I think I've even seen them in sort of a creamy colour and in a pale aqua. But yeah, I'd love to have a couple of those big pots in my garden. I do have 2 little ones, just replicas. They're not that big, probably about 30 or probably 40 centimeters high. But I love the really big ones, and to have it flooded with colourful flowers looks unreal. So one day that will be a plan, to get a couple of them for my garden. But I will make do with my little replicas. I even have a little replica that's like got a small Phalaenopsis orchid in it. Phalaenopsis orchid. In sort of a royal blue, which is really nice, which is the same kind of pot, but a little one, replica. I don't know that I could ever afford the real ones because they are expensive, and I think you can get, you can find antique ones around as well. I'd have to go to France and find some, bring them back. I once saw a video thinking about those pots where they were making them. It was like a factory in France that was making them, and a lot of the work on the side is actually done by hand, and it's so precise. So I'm going to just do my 2 pots today and just see how they look, and then next week I might add some more pots. I love a random collection of pots. I've actually got that in my garden. Just at the side behind me, I have a window. I live in an apartment and I've got a little bit of a garden at the bottom. But on the side, it just opens up onto like the side walkway. But it's a little bit wide next to my living room window. And then there's the fence, and then it goes into the church next door. And I've got a random mix of pots. They're all different, mostly terracotta. And I have lots of different plants in them, and that's where I plant like your potted colour, so depending on what's seasonal. So I've got some impatiens. I've actually got a lovely hydrangea out there at the moment that's flowering really well. And Dad got some cuttings from his jacaranda tree. So jacarandas are really popular here. And he potted some jacarandas years ago, and I'm sure everybody's died, but we all got given one of these potted plants from the farm for Christmas, and mine is still going strong. It loses its leaves and then it comes back nice and green. So at the moment it's looking really good. I haven't had any flowers on it, but it's nice and healthy, nice and green. And it's just in a pot, so it's not going to get too big. It's actually not big at all. It's quite small. And yeah, so what else have I got? I've got some succulents. I've got 2 succulent wreaths that Mum and I made in a Christmas workshop, not last Christmas, but the one before. And actually I do have a 3rd one that Mum made years ago, which I've just, when the succulents grow, you just pull bits and stick another bit in and it starts growing. So they just keep multiplying. Great, not. And then I just do potted colour like pansies and begonias and just bits and pieces. I like to have some cyclamens as well. They come and go. They kind of die off sometimes and then they re-sprout. I've got these other succulents that have pretty flowers, but I can't remember the name of them. And a few herbs. I've got 2 pots of basil because Jamie loves basil, some mint and rosemary. Jamie needs his basil to make pesto. Made that last night for dinner. Pesto pasta. And then down the back, I've got a larger garden space. It's a decent space where we had Christmas this year. The problem is the ground it's nothing, like it's not proper grass. It's mostly just overgrown weeds. That's how it was when I bought my unit a long time ago. And I do need to either pave it or deck it or something, or I wouldn't regrass it because it doesn't get full sun all the time. one end is completely shaded. But we basically put a big tarpaulin and a green one and had our Christmas out there, and it's a good spot. I have quite a few camellias. I think I have about 4 out there, pink ones. I have lots of hydrangeas, purples, pinks, whites, that kind of thing. And I have one rose bush, a yellow one, a David Austin rose, really pretty, but it only flowers a little bit. I have several gardenias which have been getting flowers on. I have a yellow, what's it called? Mental blank. It grows really well in the shade. The yellow's rare. The orange is popular. Not cyclamen. I can't even think. Well, I bought one of them when we first moved in, and it has multiplied. I've got dozens of them now, and they grow well in the shady part. And I've got some star jasmine growing up the fence, which flowers and gets a lovely smell. It sounds wonderful. It's okay. It's not absolutely beautiful. I have a pink azalea too, but it's nice to have a garden space, and I do have plans one day to make it even nicer. We've got a barbecue out there, which we got a new one for Christmas, and in summer we would use that space all the time and just have doors opening to the outside, and in winter we would probably barely go out there. Too cold. Okay. So whilst I've been rambling on about my garden that you can't see, but maybe you can imagine, I've stitched down my 2 little pots. And now I'm going to turn off the camera because I need to go and get some of my embroidery threads. And I'm going to embroider, I guess similar to this, where I'm going to embroider some plants, some flowers. And I want them to be random. I don't want them looking the same, but they're going to be there in a minute. Okay, I'll be back soon. All right, I've pulled out some bright colours, lots of nice colours that I have here. I might not use all of them, but I've just pulled them out. I'll put them in front of myself and see what I grab to make some of my flowers in my garden. So I'm just going to slide them off. And I've got a mixture of threads. Some of them are stranded cotton, some of them are wools, some are silks, some are perlé threads, etc. So very, very mixed, and my flowers are going to be mixed as well. All right, so let me just decide what I'm going to do first. I'm thinking of just doing some greenery. Might start with this one. This is a thin perlé thread. I think it's perlé. Maybe it's an old one, so who knows. All right, where are my little scissors gone? Here they are. Okay, I've got to find a needle that I can thread because this is a chunky kind of thread. Oh, hang on, here's my needle book. I'll have one in here. That one looks good. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with getting some background colour, some green, doing simple straight stitches. All right, so just long ones. Oops. Different heights. Because I'm going to come in with other greens. I'm going to do some stitches over the top of these, so they're quite long, but there will be stuff going over the top. Just going to go back along and add in a few more. She might even add one out to the side. Coming all the way down to the edge of the pot. Tie it off. What I might do is I'll do one pot and then I will do the other and show you that next week, because it'll be exactly the same. So time to switch up the color. So I want some different colored greenery. Same style. Let's change the color a bit more than that. Okay, new one, where's the end? When you can't find the end on this, just try and find a top thread and pull it and it will probably come out. That one came out pretty easily. All right, quilter's knot. All right, time to do some more stitches. All right, I turn off the video so you don't have to watch me doing all the greenery. I'll come back and you'll see this filled in with different coloured greens. Okay, I'll see you soon. All right, so I've done a little bit of work on here. I've got some little lazy daisy stitches and stems and little straight stitches with little spikes that I'm going to put some French knots around. So I'll show you. I'm going to stitch some flowers onto it now. All right, so I'm going to have the flowers overlapping the greenery quite a bit. So I'm doing some straight stitches to create some little flowers. You'll see what I mean in a sec. This is a variegated DMC. I'm using all 6 strands. Okay, so 3 straight stitches together to form the first petal, just little petals. And then same again on a different angle. that's 2. And 3. And then again on a different angle. Right, so that's going to be one flower. I'll do a stem, and I'll do another one the same up here. So the petals are just going the 3 different directions, and then I'll do a little center. I'm literally just playing around, making stuff up as I go. Getting some good color change. All right, and the last petal. Okay. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so there's a couple of flowers. I'll do the centers. Now I want a contrasting color. So I think the purple will be good for the center. I just realized the colors actually go really well with what I did up there. Just threading my needle, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I'm going to do a French knot in the middle. I want to get a little bit of chunk on it. This is a wool thread, so there's already a bit of size about it. I'm going to go around 2 times. I think 2 times would be big enough. I'm not using my milliner's needle, I should be, because it's much easier. Okay, there we go. Another one in the middle here. 2 times and back down. Okay. Okay, so next what I'm going to do, these little stems here, I'm just going to add French knots on the end. I'm going to go for this variegated thread DMC. I'm going to do all 6 strands. This will be quite chunky, and we'll get variation in the color of the knots because of the variegation in the thread. Let's go to my milliner's needle. That's what I should be using for my French knots. It's easier. Okay. So starting on these little ones. I think I'll just wrap once because I'm using all 6 strands. Just once. Otherwise my French knots will be really probably too chunky. That's already chunky enough doing it once. This one's only got 4 little stems. I think I did 5 on the rest. Might look a bit weird with 4. I might need to do another French knot. Just let me do this one and then I'll see if it's balanced. Yeah, I need one more here. All right, that is cute. All right, I'm going to hop off while I do these French knots because my video will get too long, and I'll come back and I think I'm going to do some lazy daisies, couple in here, something like that, maybe a couple more flowers, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'll be back soon. Okay, so I've worked on my flowers a little bit. Let me just focus. There we go. So I've got just some straight stitches, lazy daisies, French knots in the centers and around the edge. And all I'm going to do is finish off with a few random French knots in a kind of aqua wool. So I'm just going to do a few random here and there, like they're little buds about to burst into flower. Might make them chunky, go 3 times around. It's quite a thin wool. Okay, so I'm just going to do them randomly, dot them around the place. 3 times around and then down. And of course I got my milliner's needle. Makes it super easy. I actually do a lot of stitching with milliner's needles. They're quite long, a little bit chunky, the one I'm using. The eye's big enough to get like up to 6 stranded threads through, or even some wools as well. Some of my wools I can get through, and it's just easy to stitch with. What I'll do is for next week I will get my other pot done with some flowers, and then I'll decide if I'm adding some further pots, maybe a little row of pots down the bottom. I don't know. I'll play around with some more ideas for pots. I'm sure these won't be the only pots that come up in my garden. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a watering can as a flower pot. So I might even do that down the bottom. How many knots forgot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Might do 2 more just to balance it out. And 1 more down the bottom. lots of colours in this one. I love flowers like that. I don't like it that you go to buy flowers and they're all just the same flowers in one bunch. I'd love it if I had, you know, 2 of this and 3 of that and a little bit of this, like all mixed. Like those ones that are in all different sort of vessels, like antique vases with mixed flowers. That's what I love. All right. So there's my cute little arrangement of flowers in my pot. Just zoom a bit out so you can see. And I'll get the second one done for next video. All right, I hope you will enjoy this prompt, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.